Good morning. If you're not looking to be pissed off today, you should probably leave because I'm pretty boring and my content's all over the place. So again, this is not something you want to watch unless you want to be pissed off. But yeah, no, feel free. Anyways, here's my opinion. I'm gonna go through it. Enjoy, I guess. One of the things you have to deal with as a public figure is that you got to be willing to be criticized, and that's one of the things that suck the most about being a public figure. But it is part of being a public figure. You are going to be criticized. You are going to be made fun of. You are going to be belittled, and it's learning to say, all right, those are people who just want to either point out my negative aspects or the things that I do, not even the things that I do that are negative, but that they don't like about me, and those people are going to exist clearly. Like it's part of being a public figure. You're going to be critiqued. And so people are going to critique you honestly. People are going to critique you honestly. People are going to critique you from places of just insecurity. One of the things I've always said is find those who love you, listen to or ignore those who critique you, and block those who hate you. People are going to hate. That's always going to exist. There's always going to be people out there like, oh, you look ugly, you talk weird, you say things odd, you have an opinion I don't agree with. So it doesn't matter if you don't do anything, there's gonna be someone who hates you. You could be the friendliest person in the world, the most charismatic person in the world, and people will still hate you. And that's just because hate exists and people don't like other people. So there's nothing you could do about the people who dislike you. Also, I'm saying this as a public private note to myself. I'm not reading the comments anymore because obviously there's going to be a slew of negativity in there because people disagree with your opinions and that's allowed. But also, they don't know how to have a civil conversation without saying, "Hey, I don't agree with your opinion. So let me type the most hateful thing possible to make you upset and or to criticize what you said because I don't agree with it." Hey, you can talk in a civil manner, you know that. You don't have to over critique and be incredibly rude about disagreeing with someone's opinion because you don't agree with it. But unfortunately, people have learned to stop being civil and to now just tripe with rage instead of common sense. Find those who love you, listen to or ignore those who critique you, and block those who hate you. And I'm sure a lot of my comments are going to be filled with a lot of hate. So I'm not going to block you literally. I'm just going to not acknowledge your comment because you don't know how to say something without saying, oh, you have an ugly face or you stupid Democrat liberal cuck. And it's like, okay. Uh, when you actually have a real critique and not an insult, we can talk. So yes, I expect people to come into my comments to just belittle me and be rude and just to say that my points are stupid for even thinking them, which all right, you're welcome to think that and you're welcome to believe that. I'm still going to be myself regardless, whether or not you like my opinion. So again, you can either come into my comments and talk civilly, or I'm going to ignore your comment entirely. But again, let the hate thrive in my comments because I already expect that to happen. I just, if it's all negative, I'm not reading it. It's just that simple. I'm just going to continue to have my opinion, but I have a whole bunch of people who just hate my opinion. Okay? You're allowed to hate my opinion. That's what the First Amendment's about. You can tell me my opinion is the stupidest thing ever, but at the end of the day, I also could say, okay, you're allowed to think that, but I don't agree with you. Those who hate you just don't like, they're just miserable people. But I mean, that's something you should like become accustomed to anyways. Like anyone who ever wants to become famous to any extent, for any reason, uh, you should be aware that critiques will be there. Like it doesn't matter if you're the funniest person in the world, if you're the coolest streamer in the world, if you are the most interesting person in the world. You're going to have haters. That is just part of the game. Like, so you're gonna have people who dislike you, and it's gonna be learning to ignore those people and listen to those who you do appeal to as opposed to those who you don't. But also know sometimes before you even like make waves, you're going to have a lot of critique first. And again, back to my rules. Find those who love you, listen to or ignore those who critique you, and block those who hate you. People are always gonna hate. There's always gonna be haters. There's like they have nothing else better to do than to look at somebody and say, you are deemed of not worthy of living. And it's like that's cute. If you want to be mad at someone because they exist and they're happier than you, well, stop being miserable, and that would be a great place to start. Like, as a matter of fact, since I know people are gonna hate me, I kind of thrive off of it. It's like, oh, yeah, I made you mad today? Cool. Let me piss you off a little bit more so you can engage with my content a little bit more so they think that my content's good. The angrier your Twitter fingers are, the more engagement I get. So I kind of like this. Yeah, enjoy your time. And I gotta say this because this is where I stand on this one. TikTok is not where I'm gonna grow. I'm not even gonna try to grow here because for one, this is I make too much long form content for it to grow on TikTok, so that's not even the place where I'm gonna try to advertise myself. Like I said, this will be advertisement for my like YouTube channel, if anything, but like more than anything, I'm not gonna like try to grow here because the type of content that they promote is mainly like clickbaity. It's meant to grab your attention quickly, and if it doesn't grab your attention quickly, they don't promote it, and it's just like, oh, okay, well then that means my content's not going to be useful anyways. But not only that, but TikTok is becoming more of a magosphere than anywhere I've ever been. It's just like Twitter right now. Twitter used to be a place for free speech. Now it's all right hand opinions or right leaning opinions. It's like I don't know how you call this nonpartisan, but it is not nonpartisan. It is one political view now.
Harry YT. At Dictionary. In a general sense, nonpartisan is an adjective used to describe an approach, organization, or individual that is impartial and not aligned with any specific political party or ideology. Being nonpartisan signifies a commitment to neutrality and fairness in matters of politics and policy, where decisions and actions are based on objective analysis and the best interests of a broader community rather than partisan interests or biases. Nonpartisan entities, such as research institutions or election commissions, are often tasked with ensuring fairness, transparency, and equal representation in political processes, and they strive to avoid favoring one political group over another. The term nonpartisan underscores the importance of objectivity and inclusivity in
Well, we can't have inclusivity. That's DEI.
democratic societies in the pursuit of balanced, fact-based decision-making.
That's the same with Trump, so what do you call it, Truth Social, but of course that's going to be right leaning because that's Trump's platform. Like, duh. There are places that are expected to be partisan, and there's places that are not expected to be partisan. And when you have things that are partisan that are not supposed to be, then it's just like, okay, you're trying to say that this is not biased, but it is biased because it's an opinion. And the thing that people have like lost in this generation, it seems like, is the difference between an opinion and a fact. Because Trump says absolute statements, like this is absolutely true, like the whole thing about immigrants and stuff.
An absolute statement is a statement that assumes a fact about a person, place, thing, or idea.
Example.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Right, we care about rapists now because we care about rapists if they're not billionaires, right? Because whole Epstein files, we aren't gonna release that. We don't want people getting in trouble who have a lot of money. But if it's Mexicans, we think that they're rapists, we need to get them out of the country. But the rich people who are rapists, it's fine. Hey Johnson, how's that Speaker of the House electoral going? Are you gonna swear Grijalva in yet?
You say you're going to swear her in when the government reopens, but you've sworn in Republicans during pro forma sessions before. Why not do
Different times, different circumstances. No, Rep-elect Grijalva is also a victim of the Democrats' political games. As soon as we return to regular legislative session, we will do that. I'm following the Pelosi precedent, as I've explained on CNN many times.
Keep in mind that the reason that they're not swearing Grijalva in is because she would be the last vote to release the Epstein files, and they're trying their best to not release the Epstein files. Hey, Trump, you're innocent. Why are you worried? You shouldn't have anything to worry about because you're not in there, and if you are, you were someone who was, a snitch on Epstein. So what do you have to worry about? Why are you acting like a guilty man? You're not guilty of anything, are you?
Forcing Speaker Johnson's hand on the Epstein investigation. In a major escalation tonight, the Attorney General of Arizona and Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva of Arizona are suing Mike Johnson. And they're suing him because Grijalva has not been sworn in. So what does all this have to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Because it does at its heart. Grijalva is the final vote needed for a bipartisan maneuver called a discharge petition that goes around Johnson because he does not want a vote to release the full Epstein files. This would go around him, get that vote to release the files.
And some, I assume, are good people.
That is a strong opinion. That's a strong opinion. Just saying that people coming into our country are all criminals, it's like that's a strong opinion. That's a strong opinion. Let's make this abundantly clear. That is a strong opinion. That is not a truth. That is a strong opinion. But people not being able to understand the difference between an opinion and a truth, like what is actually true, like objectively true outside of what someone feels, is what's our biggest problem in this generation because they don't know the difference between a fact and an opinion. Like they think they're the same thing, and I'm like, there is a difference. A fact is something that has nothing to do with any emotions and no feelings about the matter. If you took your feelings out of the matter, you can prove this is true, this is true, this is true, this is true. For example, if 2 plus 2 is 4, that is a fact. That is a fact. You can say 2 plus 2 is 5, and because you feel like it equals 5, but it doesn't. Now, also 2 times 2 is 4. So you feel like, okay, 2 times 3 should equal 5. It's like, it's not addition. All right? It is not addition. 2 plus 5, sorry, 2 plus 3 equals 5, but 2 times 3 equals 6. Well, I don't get it because that doesn't make any sense. It's like, yeah, okay, so if you put your feelings in the matter, this is a great example of this because I've talked to people who genuinely said, well, 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 is 4, so why isn't it 3 times 2, 5? And it's like, because multiplication is 2 sets of that thing. So adding is this number plus this number, putting together, and how much does it equal? Multiplication is this and this many sets. So how many sets of this equal this? Or if you put this in this many sets, how much would it equal? People don't seem to understand that, so they're like, oh, it shouldn't be that way. It should be like addition. It's like addition is one different thing entirely, and multiplication is different than addition. They work differently. The rules are different. So back to my idea of fact, or my conversation about fact and opinion. What is factual is outside of what you feel about it. It's what the truth is objectively without your emotions attached to it. Unfortunately, we live in a generation that believes that facts are opinions and opinions are facts. And it's like there is a difference. There is a difference. And if you don't know what the difference is, you're gonna have an issue discerning what someone's strong opinion is versus what is true. And that's the problem. We have so many like media heads saying, "Oh, this is objectively true," and it's like that's an opinion. That's a very strong opinion of yours. Like saying, "Oh, Muslims are more likely to do something." If they say something like negative about Muslims, and it says it's statistically more likely, that's an opinion. That's an opinion. That's an opinion because you have that belief about that person based on emotions, and that is not truthful. Unfortunately, we don't know what the truth is anymore because it looks like we value strong opinions over truth, and people don't understand the difference between what is a strong opinion and what is factual. Absolute statements sound like this is truthful, and it again, it's a strong opinion. It is a strong opinion. I have strong opinions. I acknowledge that though. Unfortunately, there's so many people who again just say what I feel is the truth, and there's no truth outside of that. There are facts, which takes all emotion out of the equation and says this is what's true outside of my emotions. And then there are strong opinions, which is I looked at the facts and I've come to this conclusion, and therefore that's why I believe it is true. That is a strong opinion, that is not a fact.
Posted at GK here. Quite simply, if you go to look for information based on your bias of a situation, that is your strong opinion leading that charge. So, you can look at information and come to a conclusion. However, if your conclusion is based on your emotions on the matter and you're just looking for information to prove what you already feel, that is a strong opinion and that is not fact. Fact is outside of your emotions. It's true whether you believe it or not. Opinions are purely based on your emotion, how you feel about the matter. And because you feel that way about the matter, you feel it is true because you feel it is true. Feeling that something is true doesn't mean it is. It just means that that's something that you wish to believe because of what you've been told your whole life and or a bias you have.
But we don't live in a generation that understands the difference between that. So